This is KymB reporting from the weed capital of the world, New York City. After almost 100 years of prohibition, the government has finally loosened the hold on cannabis. As we enter a new industry of innovation, technology, and greed, there are some cannabis professionals who have pushed through the doors of opportunity. I talk to them unfiltered and uncut. We get the real story from the highest in the room. Welcome back to Highest in the Room with yours truly, Kim B. And I am feeling like the highest in the room today. And I'm excited to introduce a friend and a colleague and an overall OG and badass in the cannabis industry, Justin Johnson, co founder of, well, sole founder of Getting Chill Bongs, as well as founder of BudsFeed, which is a wildly popular um, media platform that's kind of like pretty much touched the emails of anyone in the cannabis space. Justin, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thanks
I
for having me,
remember
Kim.
when we met like back in 2018 and we were kind of all just like, we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, but here we are. Tell us where you're from and where you're at.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were having fun back then. Not knowing where it was going to go, but we were having a good time on the journey. I grew up in Washington State, a little bit in Seattle, a little bit in Spokane, and I have called New York home for the last 13 years.
And here we are in 2024 after a real battle of getting adult use pushed through. And it's been nothing but kind of a crazy shit show. But we're pushing through those doors of opportunity. Tell us what's hot in cannabis media and in the New York environment and beyond as you can see it.
Yeah, I mean it's been interesting. So when we started, really in 2019, it was a lot of great momentum, right? We had so many great things happening in the industry. And even when we went into COVID, when everything else was doom and gloom, you had this essential designation. And I feel like it was mostly positive momentum and news. And a lot of money coming into the industry too, and that was part of it, right? There was investors that were putting money into it, maybe because they were bored, maybe because they really felt like, okay, this was deemed an essential service from a governmental perspective. And I think the hardest thing to stomach is, uh, you know, a lot of those companies that got all that money failed, and a lot of those companies didn't respect the money they were given by investors. We look at the MedMens of the world and stuff like that. Things that were hailed as like revolutionary, the future, are in the past now, and that's really crazy to think about. Um, and being somebody who writes a newsletter every single week, if I were to track the pulse, it's difficult because when you start, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you're thinking, oh, okay, this is the future. And it's not just cannabis, it's every industry, any industry that's in its infancy, whether it's crypto, cannabis, alcohol, way back in the day. um, there is going to be a significant amount of failure and learning along the way, and that's what shapes the industry. And it's hard to think about that when you look at the news week to week, but I'm very hopeful, um, because despite some of the financial stuff that's really impacted the entire economy and not just this industry, you are seeing progress. And regardless of what political party you're in, you do have leadership who has some sort of belief in the industry or stake in the game, and an intention of moving it forward in one way or another.
No, and it's, MedMen came out, balls to the wall, where the apple of weed, this and that, and then they fail. And there's so many other companies that have followed suit. and it's kind of been in disarray. But I agree. I think that, investment money is starting to roll in, and as the government, like I said in the beginning, loosens their hold on it, I think we're going to see investment dollars start to flow in a little more. I myself am raising money for a few different projects, including a processing license that my team and I were awarded in Maryland. So, as good as the cannabis industry is, there are a lot of pitfalls. What burns you up about the industry?
I think it's the fact that people are still in jail. And like, look, I met you at a rooftop event in New York City where cannabis was decriminalized, and not a single one of us was afraid of getting arrested. Not even, not even a thought. We were in a public space smoking weed, and in New York City, you can walk down the street smoking a joint. Um, and that's pretty true in Seattle. There's states where the law is not that. That is the law in New York, but you're never concerned about getting arrested, or maybe getting a ticket or getting reprimanded. There's maybe some mild, like, fear from your what you've been conditioned to your whole life. But there's people, Edwin Rubis, I can't remember how much I don't even think they found weed on him, and he's been in jail for 27 years right now.
In my episode that I did back a few weeks with Ramon Reyes from Happy Monkey, we really touched on, you know, people being in jail while people are also making money, and the
Yeah,
government is collecting tax and tooting revenue to
and not letting you write
themselves.
off cogs, while collecting that tax.
It's just it just becomes, again, this is, some of the pitfalls and the issues that we deal with as we come out of prohibition. We're still in prohibition, and people are like, the war on drugs is over. No, it's not. We got a long way to
Well,
go.
and it doesn't matter what business you're in. The government will always want control over your company. I've been in small business for a long time, and it's not all cannabis. And I have family members who are entrepreneurs, and it's a control thing. And even with legalization, with that, I think it'll be a good thing because of the freedom, the reality that people will no longer be getting arrested merely for possessing or consuming cannabis. Like, that to me is the most important part of legalization. But it's going to do a lot to the industry, and we don't really know what that is. It's going to bring in a lot of money. It's going to bring in, um, corporations, which a lot of people don't want, but it's inevitable.
It
So
is inevitable. And so, speaking of business, give us the quick and dirty on why and how you started BudsFeed, and when you started it.
yeah, for sure. It was really the end of 2018, early 2019. I was working. I'd spent my career in advertising, mostly leading business development and social media for, like, American Express, Frito Lay, eBay, those types of companies. And I was really obsessed with a platform called producthunt.com. And I was working in tech at the time, and Product Hunt was a website where all the engineers and designers would share their latest and greatest product. And this is where Slack got launched. This is where, like, a lot of, like, major tech that we use today, and just think it's just normal. At some point, young entrepreneurs shared that with the community, and it exploded. And I felt like a lot of people were out there trying to create the Instagram for weed or the LinkedIn for weed. And I always thought to my head, that's not going to work, because Instagram already exists, and LinkedIn already exists. And while we're restricted on those platforms, we can still talk about it. And our identities are not 100% around cannabis, right? Our identities are much broader than that. So to really dedicate yourself to a platform that's only about weed, it's really got to be specific. So I wanted to create a platform where cannabis entrepreneurs could share the latest and greatest products, period. So that could be everything from a new piece of processing equipment, which I was super into when I really got into it. I was like, this is amazing, like all the industrialization of it, to a new bong, to an accounting firm that is dedicated to the cannabis industry. I wanted to have a place where people could come and share those services, other people could discover it. And we have basically a Reddit style upvoting system where the top products rise to the top. They're categorized within different groups. And I mean, I don't know, at this point, there's probably been at least 6,000 products shared on the site. And, some of them are the hottest new thing today, and some of them don't exist anymore. And but yeah, it was really cool, and I felt like that was you didn't need to have a big social media platform. You needed to have a community where there was a focused reason to use it, people would use it. And yeah, it's been pretty successful. It's hard to build a community, and I'll tell you what, during COVID, it was a lot easier because everybody was sitting inside and chilling and looking for stuff to do and to explore. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of was the inspiration and the impetus for BudsFeed.
Yeah. And so, how many? Because every week you write a newsletter and you feature a cannabis entrepreneur or an advocate or somebody in the space. How many of these newsletters have you written?
I have probably I counted it like a couple months back. I think I have written it for 278 Mondays in a row,
Amazing.
roughly. And yeah, we've had about 6,000 products shared on the platform, maybe more. And I believe we've done about 200 how it started interviews at this point.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. I have been featured
Yeah, yeah.
as a person, and my brand also one of the 6,000, and one of the 6,000 that's still around. So that's what's up.
Yep. I got the
Um,
pumpkin mask. I got the green
yeah.
mask. I got the
Yes.
Tribe Tokes vape. I got the Saber battery. I got the mini bat. There's a lot of Tribe Tokes products on there. There it is. Plug.
I love my CBD vape. It's pretty much doesn't leave my side. So, but yeah, that's amazing. And building an email newsletter community isn't the easiest thing to do. What would you say, like the where do you get the most of your signups from? From Instagram or?
uh, yes and no. I mean, it's kind of crazy because I started with 100 people and now I'm like, roughly 10,000. Um, it was a lot of, I would say the majority of it was the site. So I was driving people to sign up for the site either to vote on products or contribute their own products. And by default, you got signed up for the newsletter. So I'd say that was it. Second is probably was probably LinkedIn, and proactive B2B outreach and trying to get people to sign up and learn. Instagram, I've definitely gotten some signups from that, but really the what I found was there are people that read newsletters and there are people that look at pictures. And my Instagram strategy was more so a means of allowing them, other people, to get that content without having to subscribe. And
That's smart.
and that was really important. Yeah, and we used to do a lot more on Instagram. Unfortunately, when you start dealing with shadow, like if I were selling a product, I would focus a lot more on it. And obviously, I do sell a product with Chill. And so my strategy on Chill is I'm way more focused on Instagram because I'm driving real sales. With the content stuff, it's like if they're going to suppress me, they're going to suppress me. I just got to find a different place to share the content because I'm not going
Yeah.
to waste my energy on a platform because I'm not selling anything illegal. I'm not even talking about anything illegal. I'm literally sharing interviews and news about things that people like and is considered information. So I've strayed a little bit away from Instagram on the BuzzFeed side just because there's not a commercial value at the end of the road.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And, we all know about Zucky not letting any cannabis stuff through the door. And when he does, it's so just, like it's specific to like Wiz Khalifa never gets his, shit shut down.
Right,
So it's
right.
really, it's a good old boys club. And we love Instagram and hate it with a passion. So it's just part of the, tail end of prohibition that we're all going through. I mean, we definitely do as much as we can on Instagram, but we're not paying our bills with it. So,
Yeah. I
but
mean, I was one of the first social media strategists ever in the country, right? That job did not exist until I was one of the people that invented that when I was living in LA. And so I am a native on that. I spent most of my career is thanks to Facebook, right? And so I'm two ways about it because I've built so many businesses on it, but I resent the fact that it's so difficult to get traction. And really, it's definitely getting the pulled down in the shadow ban, but it's also like let the people run ads. You want the money. We know they want the money. Um, and so not being able to run ads and produce, distribute the content in that way when you're willing to put the money into it is the real interesting part of it. That's the part I don't get at all because um, most of
yeah,
the products, like in the ancillary space, are legal products. They're
yeah.
not like a bong is not illegal.
We're working with a platform right now, and they're trying to, run ads for us. And we've already been shut down. We're back up, so we'll see how it goes. But that is just the some again, like, there's pros and cons in being in cannabis, but we definitely have the door shut in our face on so many levels. So speaking of content, quickly, why do you think that people are, since this is your like your background of what you've done, why are people so obsessed with content, and why is it important to, regardless if you're, you know pushing products or you have a platform, to be involved in social media?
Yeah, I think we live in like an attention economy, right? And so if you look at how people respond to TV, people just turn into drones. And it is people used to read books and I'm sure the radio is the same way. The way that it captivated people's attention, it took them out of the world that they were in, and put them into another place. And the same thing with TV. And now we have TVs in our pockets, right? And so um, I think people are obsessed with it. I think people increasingly more are ADHD, and one of the responses to being ADHD is when you get presented with something you don't want to do, you fill your time with the scroll. And honestly, like think about it. Think about like I always joke about this. Like America's Funniest Home Videos could never like launch today. Like it wouldn't ever happen because it's like I get America's Funniest Home Videos like every morning on my
Totally.
phone. And
Totally.
so it's important to create content because you got to cut through that noise, and the eyeballs are going to be there. Can you fit into that? Can you fit into that stream of consciousness that these people have? And there's people work all day. A lot of people try to stay off social media, but like you got the commuting hours, you got the waking hours, you have the winding down time at night. I would say on average, a normal person's probably got about 2 hours of screen time a day just on their phone. And so if you can capture a piece of that time, um, you are truly in that person's consciousness. And that's what it is. It's all a game. Like you think about the red badges on your phone, all of the little user experience design elements that are commonplace in every app now, those were all designed because these tech companies want to consume as much of your time as they can in a day. Not to shake
Yeah.
my camera.
Yeah, but it's true, and it's wild shit. And people have really short attention spans. So these tiny little bits that just come through are satiate that need for stimulation. And it's wild. I'm here realizing how overstimulated I am, and I'm trying to dial back, but mainstream America runs on little tidbits of information to take them away from where they are or have to be. So I think that's like the new age of advertising and marketing is, like you said, catching as much time as you possibly can for a person to keep it in the consciousness. And that's so well said. Now speaking of brands, I'm a huge fan of your company. So yes, and you've been so kind over the years. I have, several, and I've been gifted a few as well. This is like my current one that I'm using at my house upstate, which is super dope, super beautiful, and I get people commenting it every time they come over. So, tell us quickly about why and how you started getting chill, and and then we'll get into like the why it's so wildly popular.
Yeah, so I think, I was lucky enough to get some funding when I launched BudsFeed, and that was able to get me off the ground. And it was a lot. It allowed me to leverage my marketing capability to be known in the cannabis industry. What it did not do um, is make me any money. and and I think a lot of people, I really assumed maybe I would do advertising. Um, maybe I would launch some sort of an agency, but I know how hard it is to make money as an agency when you have clients like American Express and Frito Lay. Um, let alone cannabis companies who, to no fault of their own, don't have the money. They are being hosed by the government from a tax perspective. Like they just don't have those extra funds to spend $5,000 on a video, right? Or $10,000 or $20,000 to run $100,000 campaign. It's not realistic. So um, one of the people who followed BuzzFeed was a guy named Rich Gonzalez. That was my partner. Rich was the largest water bottle manufacturer at wholesale in the United States. He ran a brand called Mana Hydration. They sold at every Walmart, Costco, etc. in the world. They did all the white label stuff for Walmart too. And I had worked with his sister for probably a decade prior, about 10 years prior to that. And she reached out to me. She said, "Hey, my brother is uh, a big fan of your newsletter. He reads it every week. He has an idea for a bong. Would you be willing to talk to him?" And at that time, I was just like, I was open to exploration. I was super excited to meet entrepreneurs. That was my whole point of existence, right? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We met up at Port Authority. He lived over in Clifton, New Jersey at the time. And he pulled out a presentation and he showed me the chill. And I had never seen anything like it. At that point, maybe 2,000 products had been shared on BuzzFeed. This is like late 2019, and I told him, "Hey, man, this is amazing. If you go and you manufacture this and you do the things that you know how to do to make this thing a reality, I will go raise whatever money we need to do to launch it, and I will be your CMO." And so he did, and so I did. And in 2020, he finished the tooling of it. And then towards the, and then, basically COVID hit and neither of us, he didn't have to commute anymore. So we were gaining a couple hours a day. He was working on this outside of his normal job and he got it tooled and he said, "Okay, well, what about that funding?" And, I went to work and I started putting together pitch decks, finding investors, and there's many steps along that journey. Um, but at the end of it, we were able to raise the capital. Um, we were able to get a distribution deal with a major distributor. This is how BuzzFeed makes money. The media side of it is a loss leader. The thought leadership is the value that I'm giving to the community, and I'm putting people on because I like to put people on, and I like to expose the stories of entrepreneurs. And the way that I'll make money is by helping them bring products to market, not as an agency, but as a partner.
Yeah. And I remember when you first launched at my house.
That's right. Yep, launch party at KymB's in
Oh my
Staten
God.
Island.
It
That was the
it
first time anybody had ever hit a chill bong other than me, Rich, and I think Warren Bobrow might have had a hit before that.
Oh, shout out to Warren Klaus.
Yeah.
Drink Klaus.
Drink
Um,
class.
yes, but that's wild. And I cherish my bongs, and I love that I was a little part of your story. And, RIP to Rich, who I know, was near and dear to your heart. And he passed away a couple years ago. And so we'll send out a little homage to him and his brilliant idea for coming up with a bong that you can clean and not have to worry about breaking, and also load it up with ice and it stays cold hit after hit. It's kind of a brilliant invention. And so now you're doing distribution for your brand. You're also
Yep.
doing distribution for a bunch of other brands. How is how is it going in the ancillary world of sales and distribution?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. So, yeah, Chill was really successful at wholesale early on. It takes a long time to build that direct to consumer um, pathway, just because awareness. People think when you drop something, it's like, oh, the whole world is going to know that this is what it is. Like the whole world does not know and does not care. And you have to make them care, and you have to every day you meet people like, why didn't anybody think of this before? And we say, yeah, we did in 2021. It's been 3 years, and so wholesale was really big early on for us. I think what has changed is as cannabis has become more legal, um, the head shops have started to lose business to consumables in the legal market. And so while you used to walk into a head shop, and there's still some great ones, obviously, and you'd see a wall of bongs, now you see a wall of kratom, THCA, nicotine vapes, mushroom gummies, Delta 9 beverages. And, to their credit, they're just trying to keep their business afloat and be as successful as possible. They want to move units. If a bong's not moving, it's not moving, right? The other side of the coin is if you look at Canada, you can kind of know that this was going to happen as dispensaries get bigger and more accessible, and they come online. Obviously, like we didn't have any, and now we have 200, but we had 0 2 years ago.
Right.
Um, those are going to be the places um, where people buy these products, and the only thing inhibiting there's two things that are inhibiting that right now. One is in a market like New York, people got hosed by the local government and had to hold on to real estate for a year and a half, and they can barely afford to buy the cannabis to fill their store now, right? They're on 30,
Yes.
60-day terms to get cannabis. And so the last thing that they have cash for is
Ancillary.
accessories.
Yeah.
And so that's changing, as these stores kind of get out from under the thumb of that issue. They're growing and their stores are getting nicer and they're merchandising more, and they're actually able to hire people who are buyers of these products and know how to merchandise these products.
Right.
Um, uh, so that's one thing. The other major issue is that in dispensaries you have to pay cash. So if you walk into a dispensary and you see that volcano has been up on the shelf, the volcano is an awesome product. The Puffco is an awesome product. The reason it's still on the shelf is because you got to come guapped up with $1,000 into that
Yeah.
store to buy, a couple grams of rosin in a Puffco or an ounce of flour and a
Word.
volcano. So the lack of credit card processing is a major issue. So I personally, with our product, I have strategically focused on direct to consumer. The margins are obviously significantly better. Um, customer service is quite a bit more intensive, but
Yeah.
it's worth it because of those margins. And if you get successful on a TikTok or an Instagram, you really build that direct to consumer, and you know that consumer demand exists. That consumer
Boom.
demand yeah, permeates the stores,
Boom,
right?
boom,
Like,
boom. The orders come in.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of how it's going right now. Um, I have in the last year, I've developed a new platform called Smoke Source with my partners Nasir and Mike. Nasir and Mike are the guys who built the back end of BudsFeed.com for our shopping experience. And Smoke Source is so it's shop.smokesource.co or just smokesource.co. Smoke Source is a three-headed monster. We're a wholesale Amazon for dispensary buyers. So you want grinders, you want pipes, you want rolling papers, you want lighters, you want rolling trays, anything, vape batteries. I sell tens of thousands of vape batteries, dollars worth of vape batteries every single month. Um, you can buy them all on there. We have a plugin, so any dispensary can effectively turn their website into an online head shop, and we do all the drop shipping for them. And then we also have an in-store kiosk platform where we will curate products for your store, and we're actually offering checkout with a credit card. And
That's amazing.
so, yeah, that's the big thing I've been working on. Chill really takes up. BudsFeed I've built it to be as automated as possible so I can keep it going. Chill is definitely the baby and takes up most of my day, but Smoke Source is something I'm feeling really excited about because I think of all the things I've ever made, I think it really solves a problem for 90% of the market.
That's amazing. And you are definitely the marketing genius and somebody that I have always fondly looked to for our ideas and thoughts. And I read your newsletter every single week and I absolutely love it. Now, if we want to find you, Justin, you just gave us your smoke source information, but where can we find you on Instagram, LinkedIn for BudsFeed and Getting Chill?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/in/Justin M. Johnson. And so you can find me there, and then you'll find all the companies I'm involved with. Chill is at Getting Chill on Instagram. BudsFeed is at BudsFeed underscore. Smoke Source doesn't have an Instagram. Um, so BudsFeed.com, chill.store, smokesource.co. I also have another thing I've been working on called Cashbox Media, which is advertising on ATMs in dispensaries. So that is cashbox-media.com. And yeah, those are all. Or you can just email me at justin@BudsFeed and I
There
can
we
get you.
go. Justin, thank you so much for being my esteemed guest. And this is KymB and Justin, highest in the room, signing off.